Does it say it's recording? Everyone's out? Okay. All right. So the floor is yours, Emma, if you'd like to go forward.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. As Christy said, my name is Emma Tatum. I have been the consultant putting together this system for you guys. So I hopefully should be able to give you a little bit more insight here on a few things, and then happy to answer questions at the end as well. But your team from Amanda and Jordan and Christy kind of sent over a list of items that seem to be, kind of reoccurring questions from out the group. So we're going to touch base on those first. And then, anything else at the end, feel free to ask me, and we can go through some of that. So, with that being said, I am going to have to maybe ask somebody from the group to share their screen every now and then, just because as a service account that I have access to, I don't have things like time off request. Um, or a dashboard to customize or something like that. So at some point, I'll probably ask somebody to kindly volunteer, share their screen, but we'll go through the things that I can show first. So let me get my stuff pulled up and get this email over here with our list out of my way. Okay. All right. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Very sad screen, hence why I'll have to have somebody share here in a little bit. But one of the first things I wanted to go over with you guys was creating hyperfines or filters for you all to utilize when you're in the system. So if you have a larger group of employees and you really need to be able to narrow down, by a specific location or job or something along those lines, you should have the ability to do that. If you do not, please let Amanda or Christy or Jordan know, and we'll look at your access. Um, but what you should see is I've got the time card screen pulled up. You should have the hyperfind available in the top right hand corner. So that's this like flow chart looking thing to the right of your time frame. Um, so hyperfines are really essentially filters. So you can create a new hyperfind. And this is what I'm talking about. If you don't have access to this new hyperfind button, please let somebody know and we will get that adjusted for you. Um, but this new hyperfind, it'll pop up this screen. um, you'll want to make sure to switch this from ad hoc yes to ad hoc no, or you'll only be using it for this one time. The other thing that you'll want to do most of the time, if you're creating something that you think is, maybe more useful to the larger group, you can leave it as public. But if it's just something that you're planning on using for yourself, switch this visibility over here in the top right to personal. And then that way, anytime you log in, you'll be the only one that sees this hyperfind here. And then you'll add conditions. So there's a lot of things that we can do to kind of use as filters, to get us to see the employees that we want to see. So specifically, if you're looking for a location, um, this here is good. This it's always going to default to their primary job, which is what we would use for selecting a specific location of some sort. So you can click through here. This is what we call your business structure. It's really just more of a hierarchy. But let's say, you're in UST Select and you need to see everybody at Amazon. So you'll just click through until you get to the location that you need to see, and you can select all of Amazon. If you need to further narrow that down, you can click into Amazon and then select your specific Amazon locations. Um, And that goes for the same for GE Select, Lowe's, and outside of UST Select as well. So this is a way for you to kind of centralize looking at specific locations when you're viewing time cards, schedules, anything like that. Even if you're running reports, you can use hyperfines for all of those things. So not only location, but you can, if you know that you have like certain employees that you need to look at all of the time, and if you want to call them out specifically here by their name or their ID, you can create a hyperfind of those specific employees as well. You can also do it by payroll. If you need to see all of your employees who are assigned to a specific payroll, if you have multiple people that would be assigned different ones, if that's helpful for you. Um, so there's a lot of different things that we can use here on this left-hand side that would allow you to kind of narrow down who you're looking at. So let's go back to my original example here of job, location. Um,
Hey, Emma,
so,
can you zoom in
uh-huh,
on your screen a little bit?
yeah. That
Searching for network. Kidding.
All right. Um, so once you've added your conditions or once you've, selected whatever it is that you want to use for your filter, you just want to hit this add button here. And then let's say this is the only thing I wanted to add, just want to see all of Amazon and UST Select. I would hit apply at that point, and then it's going to give you your conditions that you've created, and then you'll name your hyperfind. So like UST Select, Amazon. Something along those lines. Other thing I wanted to point out is you can test this too to actually see what employees it's returning. So you can um, just verify that, what you've gone in here and added is what you actually wanted prior to saving it and then having to view it that way. So, right now, I'm not going to save that because I don't know if anybody actually needs that or not, but that is how you can create those. So, any questions there? Okay. I know Christy's recording this, so you can always refer back to that. And then again, if you have additional questions, just let us know. Um, all right. The next thing that we want to do is go over adding schedules. So when you're in workforce management here, you should have access to the schedule planner. So that's going to be this drop down here on your main menu and then schedule planner. It will always default to the current schedule period, so that's your time frame up here. And again, as I was saying before, you can use the hyperfines that you've created to only show specific employees as well. Just so you guys know, since we're in your production environment, I'm not actually going to save any of the things that I show you because I don't want to mess with anybody. But I will take you through all the steps up until saving. So for
Um,
added,
Emma, we've got Kathleen with a question. Can we,
yeah,
Kathleen?
So when I went to look at mine, it just gives me a schedule planner with absence calendar. That was my only option. And it looked like you had two options.
yeah, schedule planner with absence calendar will work just the same. So you should be
Okay.
good there.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem. All right. So adding a schedule, there's a couple of different ways that you can do it. So one would be to just come in here, right click on the day that you maybe need to add a schedule for or edit a schedule for. So if I'm editing this for Monday, would right click on that cell and you can add a shift here. And you'd enter your times. One thing I want to call out about this is it does go from 12 a.m. to 1 p.m. as a default. So when you first change the time on the first one, it's going to look a little funky. But if you, so I've done 8 a.m. and then let's say I do 5 p.m. here, it'll switch this end date back to actually the 27th instead of the 28th. So that'll happen automatically. The other thing is if you know that they're, needing this shift for 4 consecutive days, at the bottom here, you can use this repeat shift 4 and then specify your certain number of days and it'll do that consecutively for you. So you only have to add this once and it'll populate on there for you for the number of days that you specified. So that's one way.
Mike, do you have a question?
I do. Is there a way to change it from a 12-hour clock to a 24-hour clock by chance?
On the schedule specifically?
In general for UKG, so like for me, I prefer the 24-hour clock when I'm reading time cards and stuff. Is it possible to change it?
So, not on a personal level, it would have to be. So, one thing that you guys are assigned in the system is a display profile, and that's for a larger group. Now, we can adjust those to be 24 hours, but on an individual level, you cannot change that. So, if there's consensus from the group that that's what we want to see, um, then we can make that change as well. Um, Also, when you're in the time cards, you can enter in military time, and if that's helpful at all, I know you said view, but you can enter military time instead of having to do like 5 p.m. or something like that. All right. So a couple of other options as far as adding schedules goes. So you can create shift templates and pattern templates as well. So this quick actions here, if you click that, it'll give you all of these icons. One thing you can do is insert a shift template. So right now we have a 10-hour and an 8-hour. This was given to me by Jordan. Um, if you guys want the ability to create your own shift templates, that's something that I can talk with her about. So let us know on that if that's something that you all would like to have. But what you can do is say insert shift template, select your template here. So I'll do an 8-hour and notice my mouse turns into a plus sign instead. So what this is now allowing you to do is go ahead and click on any days for any employee that you want to add this specific shift template to. So I can go in here and say, okay, they need this for Monday through Thursday, and then this person needs it like Sunday through Wednesday, something like that. So you do have the ability to use this to quickly add shifts. The other option that we have, I'm going to refresh this so that doesn't save. All right. The other option is to right click on the employee's name and add a schedule pattern. So in the schedule pattern, you can specify the number of weeks that you would like this pattern to be. So define pattern for, 10 weeks or something like that. Once you do that, it'll populate on the right-hand side with those 10 different weeks that you've specified. You can also use the plus button here to add another week. And then from here, you can also use that shift template functionality that I just showed you. So we can do just a quick add here. And you don't have to use just one shift template. You can click shift template again and pick a new one. So we'll do the 10-hour, and let's say they're going to add, work the 10-hour shift this week. You can mix and match in here. You can also copy and paste and delete. So it'll, again, if you select delete, it'll give you the option of what you want to delete. Usually just say all. And then now you can see I can go in and delete days as well. So that's creating a pattern template and applying it to the employee. The other thing that you can do instead of just doing it on an employee individually is if again, let's say I was using a smaller hyperfind, where I know that these employees are always going to utilize the same schedule. I can select multiple employees, right click on the name and see it says 8 selected employees here. So you can add the same schedule pattern to those employees that you've selected so you don't have to do it one by one. All right, and that's just the very basics of adding shifts, but are there any questions around that?
Yeah, Nathan, do you have a question?
Yeah, I had a couple questions. One, it looks like everybody is trying to figure out or wants to know how to make our own templates for where you inserted you just kind of made a quick schedule real quick. Is there a way where we can make our own instead of picking from that list?
Yes, there is. I don't know that it's something we had originally given you all access to. So I just want to double check with Jordan on that before I send that out to the group, but it definitely is an option to give you guys access to that. So,
Okay. The other question I had was I've already been trying to play around with the schedules, and all of our drivers, their shifts end at different times. So if we put in like 5 a.m. to 1 p.m., a lot of times they leave earlier before then, and I notice it's already giving them like an early out message. Is there any way to avoid that? So say they leave at 11, 12 o'clock, and they didn't work all the way till 1 o'clock. How do we avoid that getting their time getting flagged for an early out?
yeah, so there's a couple of different things. If it's on the schedule and you want to adjust the schedule, you can actually do that from the time card. So let me just pick somebody here. Let's go to their time cards. Oh, well, that's probably won't be helpful as none of them have a schedule. All right. Unselect. Okay, let's go to this person. They have schedules. So here, you can right click on the schedule in the time card and select edit. And then you can edit their end time for their schedule. And that would get rid of the early out exception. And then, sorry, I just have to check on something in your guys' attendance setup before I make this next statement. Yeah, so it's early out 10 to 60 minutes. Okay. So the other piece that we have to take into consideration is the attendance portion. We have attendance events based on the exceptions in the system. So is this a scenario that's unique to your drivers that happens rather often for them?
Yes, it happens to every driver, probably at every location, that they don't work. A lot of times they're leaving an hour, 30 minutes before their scheduled time to leave, depending on whenever they complete their route.
Okay. Let me make that note and talk with Jordan and Amanda on that. It may be that we just want to update the exceptions for that set of employees specifically, which we could do. So update driver early out. Okay. I made a note of that and I'll get with Jordan on that one.
Brian?
Yeah, just a quick question. When it comes to the patterns, if that's something we want to utilize, like if we do like several weeks in advance, is that something that when we do that, it's going to be published to the employees, or we can control like 1 week at a time?
It will be published to the employees. So they would be able to see that if you put that pattern in there, farther out than what you would really want them to actually see.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And Mike, you had your hand up before. Are you good now?
Yes, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Emma, I noticed there was a lot of people in the chat commenting that they don't see the hyperfind. Is there maybe something that we're missing when we're looking for that, or is there a chance that a lot of people don't have that set up yet?
There's a chance that it's not set up yet. So this is something that Jordan and Amanda and I worked on access together when we were setting up the system. So I think we just need to make an adjustment on some of those profiles. So I'll get with them and determine which ones exactly that we need to update. So that way the managers on this call can see that.
Okay, perfect. So everyone that's made a comment, I've already written that down. If anyone else wants to comment, if they don't have that, I'll make a note of that for Emma and the team to review.
Thanks, Christy. All right, team, anything else on schedules before we move on?
Yep, Mohammed?
Apologies, I raised my hand a little too quick, but I did have a question in regards to the missing punches. Are we still able to go into Paylocity and fix that, since there's been issues with a lot of our drivers? Sometimes they're able to clock in, sometimes they're not able to clock out. Are we still able to go into Paylocity and fix that issue?
Yeah, so for the time being, we're kind of running like a dual maintenance type of thing. So we are referencing all of the punches in Paylocity as well as all the punches in UKG and making sure that they're all accurate before we run payroll. So yes, that's perfectly fine.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Then the next thing I'm going to move on to is approving timesheets. That's one of the things on the list here. So I'm currently on the timesheet. If you see in the upper left-hand corner, you have approve here. So that's how you can individually approve a timesheet. There's a way that we can do it on a more mass level for your employees as well. So I will show you that next. But is there anybody that, and you can just comment in it, and I know Christy's taken notes, but please let us know if you do not have this approve option when you are on your employees' time cards and feel that you should. Because that's another access thing that we would want to update along with the hyperfines. All right. So the way that we can mass do this, and this is actually another point on the list of items that was sent over to me, is running reports and kind of viewing those too. So This kind of goes hand in hand here. So when you are logged in your main menu, you should see data views and reports as an option, and then you'll have your data view library and your report library. So we're going to go into data view first. Um, Data views are a type of reporting that we can use. Now, you all may not have access to every single one that we see here today because I have access to everything in the system. But if you see something on here, you're like, that would be nice to have, you're checking, you're not seeing it, that's something else, let us know about that and we can get things adjusted for you guys as well. Um, but data views in the system, so let me pull up this pay period review one. So this is a data view that you can use as kind of a snapshot to see what your employees' time cards are kind of looking like right now. So you can see the employee ID, employee full name, and then our next column is missed in punch. So there's going to be a counter there, a number that would tell you if an employee has a missed in punch. Same thing for the out punch. You can see a few rows down that there's a 1 that's indicating that that employee has a missed out punch. Unexcused absence, you can see that the counter is raised on that one because it looks like they have 3 unexcused absences within the current time frame that you have selected up here. So right now I'm in current pay period. You have your drop down here to review previous pay period, if you're trying to go through and approve your time cards. So you can change those too. You can also select a date range here down at the bottom of that drop down. And then the next thing you would see is there's this manager approval column here. So you can quickly identify if you've already approved this time card or not. So that's there for you as well. Then the other thing with data views is unlike a traditional report where you would, export the data from the system, you can actually use this to, approve, go to employees' time cards and kind of move around within the system from there. So let's say just um, in a scenario where I've already gone through all of my employees' time cards, I've addressed any of their missed punches, their unexcused absences, anything like that. I'm ready to just approve all of my employees' time cards. So, what you can do is select all, and then you have this approve option up here where you would be able to approve time card. So that way you can do it on a mass level instead of having to go through one by one on your employees' time cards and click approve. So again, this is one that I would recommend you guys check that you have access to. I think it is really helpful to be able to go in and just see what's going on with your time cards and the time frame that you have selected and then act on anything at that point as well. So the other thing is like, okay, these 3 people here, right? So we've got this person's got unexcused absences, and then these 2 here have a missed out punch. So I can just select those employees only, right click on either their employee ID or their employee name, and then more actions will pull up the go to button. Sorry, let me do this up here so you can actually see that. There we go. The go to options and then time cards here. So that'll just open up those 3 time cards, and then I can go in and address those items on those 3 employees' time cards and just toggle through them here using the arrows up at the top.
Okay, and Kathleen asked when this needs to be done by. It's the same as it needs to be done currently. So I believe that's Monday by noon. Is that correct? Everyone's approving time by Monday by noon.
Timesheets should be approved every day.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best practice. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And to approve every day as well. So what I was showing you is the current time or current pay period. but you can change this to today, yesterday, tomorrow. So if the practice is, you know, in the morning, one of the first things you do is come in and approve your time for yesterday. You can use yesterday, review your employees' time cards, and then if everything looks good, go through that same process of select all and then approval, and it'll only approve for whatever date that you have selected here. All right, so I'm going to go back to the data view library. There's some other ones that I think, would be useful for you guys to have like accrual details for your employees. So we have a couple of these accrual details under the timekeeping section here that you can look into and go and see what the accrual balances are for your employees. So you've got their available balance here. You've got planned takings, what they've already taken, and taken to date. All of this is based on a calendar year. So the taken to date would be from January 1 up until today. And then if we want to go to reports, so you should have the report library, which was also underneath the data views and reports in your main menu. And then once you're here, run report, and then you've got your options here. So again, you guys may not have access to all of these. It's just kind of based on what um, Jordan and Amanda and I had discussed. Now, if you get in here and you feel like you don't have everything that you would want or need, let Jordan and Amanda know, and we can discuss that and getting the group access to that here. But one that I know a lot of managers, just from other customers that I've worked with, like to use is the exceptions report. So if you select the report that you want to run, it's going to give you a description of what's actually in that report. Um, so you can see that, make sure it makes sense for what you're trying to do, and then hit select to run it. And then it'll give you these options here. So you can select your time frame. So let's say I just want to review, any exceptions from yesterday or the previous pay period, right? Change your time frame. Again, this is where hyperfines can come in handy. So if you just want to see a report on everybody that you have access to, you can leave it as all home here. Or if you wanted a refined group, you could pick a different hyperfind. And then not every report has this option to select like exception types or pay codes or something like that that you want to see, but some will. So that's what this box is here for exception types. If you click the blue circle with the three dots on the right-hand side, it'll bring up the options of the different exceptions in the system. So you can easily just come in and say select all if you want to see everything, or if you want to run a specific report on, like a long break, seeing who's taking a long break, or maybe just missed out punch. Um, you can come in here and select exactly what you want to run the report on. And then you have your output format option as well. So usually PDF or Excel are going to be the two that you would want to pick. And you have the option to do that here, whichever just works best for you guys. So you'd select your output format and then hit run report. And then what's going to happen is any report that's currently running is going to be in this in progress section here. And then anything that's completed, you would see here, and that way you would be able to come back and access that again as well. So it will live here. If you were to select this, it'll actually download that report that's associated with that run. So for reports, just want to get an understanding from the group. Is there anything that you guys are really running on like a daily or a weekly basis? Michael, looks like you have your hand up.
Yeah, Michael?
Yes, so James and I run overtime reports weekly, and so we'll be needing to have access to the entire division right now. And I think I just sent you another message, Christy. I can't see any location information. I can see me. That's it, because I'm outside the location. We're in a support function, so we need to be able to have access for the entire top-down division to be able to run overtime reports weekly. I don't know if
Okay,
that's a permissions level or another issue with where we sit in the org chart.
yeah, exactly. So, Michael, you said that was you and who else?
James Williamson.
Okay.
Yep, I've got that
There's
noted.
James.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's something that we'll have to adjust with your access. It sounds like probably don't have a manager's license right now. So even if you're not going in and approving time cards, you have to have a manager's license to be able to see employees other than yourself. So we'll get you guys updated on that, so that way you guys can run those reports.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right, and I think I saw Brandon had a question, and maybe somebody else.
Yes. So for the report on the Lowe's end, is there a way we could run one for hours of service?
Hours of service, can you talk to me more about exactly what that is? Is that more like hours worked per employee or?
Yes, keeping up with the CDL driver's hours.
Okay, yeah. So we need hours worked. And how often are you running that? Is that on a daily, weekly?
Really daily,
Okay,
60.
okay. Yeah, Chrissy, if you'll include that in the notes too, I'll take this back and I'll send something out to Jordan and team that will outline those reports that you guys can use. And they can pass that info along.
Yeah, so it looks like Kathleen also said an overtime report, a California meal break report from Bob, and approaching overtime report from Shane.
Okay, yep, I saw that approaching overtime one come in, and then the other one was California meal.
California meal and an overtime.
Okay, and for that California meal, is that just seeing anybody who we've granted that additional time to because they did not get their break, or can you talk to me more about the California meal one?
That was Bob. Can you comment on that, Bob?
Yeah, I was waiting for Kathleen. The,
Okay.
yep, thank you.
All right, so so with the lunches, it needs to be taken within 5 hours. So we need to have like that type of report, that they haven't taken the lunch within 5 hours. And then if they are over 10 hours of working, then they have to take a second lunch, and we need to have that as well.
Okay, just to see if they've taken it or not, essentially.
Correct.
Okay, all right, yep, we can do that.
And then I'm sure that there's probably some other reports if they work over 10 hours, 12 hours and all that stuff, but we can do that manually.
Okay. Yeah, well,
Thank you.
anything else that, yeah, of course, anything else that you guys think of, as far as reporting goes, if it doesn't come up on this call, just let Christy or Jordan or somebody know, and we'll make sure to get those in the system for you guys.
Yep, and all of you who have just commented, I see a days worked in a row report, daily hours report for CDL. I've recorded all those, so the last couple of people I've got you. Looks like Brandon might have a question. Brandon, you there? Okay.
Oh no, sorry, I already asked mine.
Oh, okay. Great.
All right. The next thing that was on the list was attendance points. But I really just want to understand more about what kind of questions you guys have. Is it how to add attendance points to the time card? Is it how to view the employee's attendance balance? Kind of talk to me about, or is it all the above?
Emma, I did see one question from Sean earlier that said, will points be automatically assigned for attendance?
So the answer to that question is some will be based automatically from exceptions on the time card, and then others will require a comment that is added to that punch. So for example, the two that happen automatically is if an employee is early out between 10 and 60 minutes. And then again, and if an employee is late in between 10 and 60 minutes, those two are happening automatically. The ones that would need a comment on the employee's punch would be early out more than an hour, or late in more than an hour or more than 2 hours. So what that looks like on here, let me get to time cards again here. Seeing if I can find anybody that has an exception quickly so the proper comments will show. Okay, I can't find anybody. So what I'm going to do is just I'm going to adjust. Well, nope, I don't want to do that because I don't have a schedule either. So that's the other thing. Employees are going to have a schedule in the system for these exceptions to show because the system doesn't know that they're late unless we tell them what time they're supposed to start. So that's one thing to keep in mind, that we're going to be needing to add schedules to our employees here for the attendance policy to work. So with that in mind, though, if an employee had the exception, what you would do is you would right click and add a comment. And that comment would be added to the exception of, late in or early out. And you've got your attendance comments available here to help trigger those. There any other questions around attendance and attendance points?
Sean also asked about what about no call, no shows and call outs?
Yeah, so that is actually pay code related. So if the employee, sorry, I got to get my other page back up. So if we were, calling in and it was less than a 2 hours notice or more than a 2 hours notice, right? Those are the two events that we have in here. So what you're actually going to do is add the comment, or I'm sorry, the pay code of absent. So I'm going to do it on this employee, but I won't save it. So you'll add absent, and then let's just say it's 8 hours for their full day. So what you're going to do is on the amount for that pay code is add a comment there. and then that call in less than 2 hours or call in more than 2 hours, whichever one it was that applies to them, you'll add your comment to that. And then as far as attendance goes, for viewing kind of what's going on with your employees at that point. So what you can do is under the time piece in your main menu, there's the attendance option. And this takes you to the attendance landing page. So what this would do, we don't have anybody right now. I ran the rules to make sure, but if there were actions for your employees, right, like a verbal warning or something along those lines, they would be grouped here by anybody that does have an action, so you could see those. And then the other thing that you can do too is if you needed to view a specific employee or multiple employees' attendance details, you can select them and hit attendance details here, and that will take you to a different page that would break down day by day what was going on. Um, as far as what attendance events that they had triggered, what their point balance is, and that sort of thing. And I would click into here, but these people don't have um, any actual attendance details, and so it's not going to show us anything. All right, and then the last two things that were on the list that was sent to me were the time off request and then customizing a dashboard. So is there anybody that wants to log in and share their screen with us so that way I can kind of walk you through those two things? And it would have to be somebody, like I know, Michael, you said that you don't have access to other employees. So we're definitely going to need somebody who should be receiving time off requests from their direct reports. All right, let me see if I can log in as a manager from our testing system. Well, and maybe I can show us. Sorry, guys, give me a second just to get logged into your other system here.
And Emma, while you're doing that, do we know if the 30-minute breaks are automatically deducted?
They should be. If we're not seeing that, let me know.
Okay, great.
Okay. All right, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is your testing environment, but I've logged in as a test manager. So the last two things we were going to cover were one, employee requests, like time off request. So on your notifications tile, you should have employee request here. So if you click into there, it would show you time off requests that haven't been approved yet. So you can act on those. We call this the control center here, or your notification center. So you can select whatever request you're wanting to act on and then hit, approve, refuse. You can select pending. I don't see this used as often, but if you selected pending, it's really just to kind of notify your employee, like, okay, I've seen your request, but looking to see if we can actually approve it or not. But typically I just see approve and refuse. So you would just select this and then hit approve. And you can see once you've done that, that goes away from your notifications because you no longer need to act on it. And then same thing, let's say I was going to refuse this one and say, no, you can't have your time off. You hit refuse. And that's all that you should have to do for those. So does that answer questions on that one? Or are there any other questions around time off requests and approving those? Okay. And then the last thing that I know we had questions on. So depending on what view you guys have, some of you may have the new homepage, but to kind of customize your home screen, this was the last item on the list. So you would have this gear icon up here in the top right, and you can select that, and then this sidebar will open and you can select different tiles for you to see. You can remove tiles that you no longer want to see on your home page. um, so that's how you would kind of add or remove things. And then the other thing that you can do is if you hover over the header of each tile, you can kind of drag these around and move them to where it makes most sense for you and wherever you want to see those things. And then if you have the newer homepage, just as a heads up, if you guys don't have it now, I think this system automatically switches it at the end of July. There will, instead of this little gear icon in the top right corner, you would scroll all the way down and there'd be a little pencil icon down at the bottom center here. So just as a heads up there, if it hasn't updated yet, that is coming. Okay, and I think we got through the list with 3 minutes to spare. Are there any other questions or anything else that anybody wants to go over in the last couple of minutes here?
A couple people just commented that they don't have the gear icon. Would that be another setup issue?
Yes.
Okay, so Shane and Michael, I'll make a note for you.
Yeah, also Christy and Emma, I haven't been able to access anything Emma went over in here. I don't know if it's anybody else. I don't know if it's operator error. It very well could be, but I have not been able to access anything that was covered in here. And I wonder if it's like Michael and James, because Kathleen can't either, and we're not assigned to sites.
Okay, and I'm sorry, who's speaking?
Shane Ford.
Okay, let me just look you up real quick and see what kind of access you have. Okay, yeah, it looks like maybe you don't have manager access, and let me look at quick too. Yeah, it looks like there's different things going on with different people. So, and just so you guys have some background, a lot of this stuff is assigned to you in Pro and then flows over to Dimensions. So it sounds like I just need to get with Jordan and Amanda and make some updates for you guys. So keep sending in, what you don't have access to, what you feel like you're missing, and then we'll make sure that we get you guys updated. It's going to take some coordination between myself and Jordan and Amanda as well. All right. Well, that is our time. So thank you guys for having me today. Thank you for being engaged. We will, if we need me to hop on another call in the coming weeks, I'm happy to do that. So just keep, your team informed of, if you want me to come back, and we can go through some more things. Okay.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Emma.
All right. Thanks everyone. You have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.